Do we need to ban adverts for junk food? Get your calls in right now, 0207862 2222. A study on children in Merseyside found that seeing junk food adverts for just 5 minutes led kids to eat far more calories later in the day, no matter whether they saw or heard the adverts on TV, radio, social media, a poster or a podcast, or whether the ads were for branded or non-branded foods. The kids ate an extra 130 calories on average, equivalent of 2 slices of bread. The government's currently planning to ban junk food ads on TV before 9 p.m. from October, but it doesn't stop brands promoting unhealthy products in places like billboards or bus stops all day long. Does this study prove that we have to get tougher? Fascinated to know your thoughts. Suzy, what do you reckon on this? Yeah. Do you think the government's taking action? Is it enough?
I mean, I feel very, very strongly on this. I just think it's just madness that you've got these big food companies making massive profits from, advertising unhealthy food. We've got, record levels of obesity in this country, again, amongst children as well. And I'm just like, no, we need to regulate this, and I would probably go further. I would go further.
I mean, that's about kids. What about the rest of us? Do you think we're all influenced by these ads and actually an outright ban would allow us to exhibit a bit more self-control?
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I mean, look, you look back to kind of, I suppose, like cigarette smoking. Do you know what I mean? There's a reason why we put those restrictions in place, because it wasn't good for people's health, and probably at the time people would outcry about that. But actually now we've seen, well, that was the right thing to do. It saved lives, it saved health, it saved money on the NHS, it saved tax bills, etc. In some ways, I don't see this as much different to that. There's... obviously, people need to have the right to eat unhealthy food if they want to eat unhealthy food. But particularly for me, amongst children, I feel very strongly about this, very strongly.
It sometimes feels, Albie, like, ultra-processed foods are the environment now. That's where we live. We see adverts for them all the time. You go into a shop, you see whole aisles of food that is just ultra-processed. It's hard to avoid, isn't it? Wouldn't this just give us a bit of breathing space away from that influence?
How many kids do you know watch linear television? Like, very few kids watch linear television. So if you want to stop children seeing advertisements of unhealthy food, the way you target that is not through banning certain advertisements on whatever linear television channel that they're not watching before 9 p.m. Younger children are on TikTok. Younger children are on Instagram. They're on X. They're on Facebook. They're watching Netflix. They're watching Amazon Prime. They're not watching the linear channels in the same way that older people do. So I don't think this policy is worth the paper that it's written on.
That's the policy, but you're saying, why not go further?
But I don't think we should go further.
Why not say that tech platforms have got the online safety bill coming?
No.
Why not say to them also, this is a harm, we can reduce this, we can treat our kids better. All of us could avoid it more.
Look, come on. When I was on my way to the studio this morning, I got out of the taxi and the first thing I saw on a phone box was an advertisement for a Rustler burger, a fast food burger. Are we saying we're going to get rid of all fast food advertising? Some of the most skilled advertising are from ththese fast food companies. You think of McDonald's adverts, bum. I'm loving it. They're nice to see.
I think
doesn't mean everyone has to buy it.
This is comparable to, you look back in the day, it was like you could have, cigarette advertisements galore, and people were like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. And now, whatever it is, how many years ahead, we look back and we say it was madness that we allowed that, the levels of cancer, the impact on people's health. And I think, again, today, people are going to look back and say, how did we allow these advertisements? Again, I would completely have regulation on TikTok, Instagram, and I mean, I would have lots of regulation on them, full stop.
So you just ban everyone from all bad things?
It's not ban everyone from all bad things.
Nanny over here, nanny state. Stop that. Don't do that.
They're still available, though, Albie.
Yeah, exactly. We're not saying you can't. You're still going to have, obviously, a McDonald's on a high street. We're basically saying
Would you ban the camera panning onto this image of unhealthy food here in case there were children that were watching?
There's no branding on that.
It doesn't matter. It's unhealthy food, isn't it?
I think ultimately
we're on television.
Ultimately, we know
in your plan, would you ban that?
Social media companies or whatever, that there is deliberate targeting, deliberate advertisement, and that is what needs to, I think, be regulated.
There is plenty of meat on the bone here, clearly. Don't go anywhere because we're live on 5. Suzy and Albia are here with me. Let's get straight to your calls on banning junk food adverts. Mick's in Kent. What do you reckon, Mick? Have we had enough of them? They don't do us any good,
Hello
do they?
there. Good afternoon, Matt,
How are you,
Susie,
Mick?
and the other guy. Sorry, I don't know his name.
Albie.
Albie and
Albie.
Susie.
Nick, honestly,
Albert.
come on.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, this is nothing to do with a nanny state at all. The massive drain on our health service. He was on about earlier about the problems in care. Well, again, kids are already being cared for because they're overweight, they're obese, they're dying early. The strain on the National Health Service. I'm not being funny. We don't allow smoking ads. So is Albie going to say, well, we'll bring out vape ads?
Do you
So we
think,
can have all
Mick,
the teenage kids killing themselves with vapes. It's nothing to do with a nanny state. We're trying to take back control.
Yeah.
When I was a kid,
There are
we
vape
looked
ads.
after our children and we fed them properly. I can make my grandchildren a meal for £2.50, but they would rather go to McDonald's and spend a £10.
what's
So
the difference,
drain on
Mick?
myself.
What's the
It's 4
difference, Mick?
times-
Because, Mick, when I was
the
growing up, there were ads on telly. We had all sorts of fast foods, all sorts of ultra-processed foods.
No, we didn't.
What's
no,
the
we
difference?
didn't. When I was a kid, I'm going back 50 years,
Okay.
McDonald's was never a thing.
Okay, 50
We
years
used
takes
to-
us to
we used to have-
1975.
We used to have fish and chips once a week if we were lucky.
Okay.
We never had sweets.
But Mick, wasn't that because your parents said no when you asked for fast food? I remember my mum, whenever
Yeah,
I
right.
asked for fast
No,
food, she'd
no,
say,
it
no,
didn't.
Albie, you can't have it. If you're hungry, have an apple instead of a packet of crisps. It's about parental responsibility. We can't take away the responsibility of parents and put it on advertisers.
The same as teacher responsibility, again, that they can't stop them in school because they're not allowed to discipline them.
Okay, Mick, do you think we're being trained to be obese? Is that what
Yes.
you're sensing? Is that what you're
We
trying
are,
to say? That
definitely.
from a very early age, we are surrounded by this influence.
Yes. Basically, they're doing it to, in my belief, get rid of us or make us unable to do work because they know changes are coming. They need less workforce. They need to already the actual living age has started to recede.
Okay, you're talking about
In the last couple of
you're
years.
talking about a food conspiracy. That's what you're saying.
I mean,
No.
yeah.
But I mean, that's a big claim. You're effectively saying that we are being made to be less able because of the food that we eat.
Yeah, and sort of. Not totally, but they're kind of driving this, and this is all by social media, TV companies that are taking massive profits, and they are literally draining the state of all its resources.
Okay.
Yet they are billionaires.
Okay.
Because I think Mick's strong argument there is about the cost on the NHS. And the fact is you apply the same thing to, cigarette companies way back in the day, and there would be the same outcries, nanny state, all of that. But now we see, that was the right decision to restrict that kind of advertisement because of the impact on people's health and obviously the burden on the NHS, etc. There is very little difference between that and this. We're talking about processed foods that cause cancer. We're talking about obesity and the levels of cost to the NHS with that, but also just if a child is obese in their childhood, they're likely to continue that into adulthood.
The child doesn't act autonomously. It's got parents.
Yes,
Why
and
aren't
parents-
Why aren't the parents
100%,
looking out, like Albie
100%.
says,
Agreed.
to actually look out for these kids? And what's stopping them being able to see the harm?
100%. Look, and parents do have a responsibility. I mean, I'm a parent. Parents do have a responsibility here. So we're not saying part of the pie chart isn't parental responsibility, but we're also saying, actually, we are going to make sure that the right regulation and restriction are on these big food companies that make record profits, which actually, again, record profits, and then you've got people having to go, and get...
What happens to profits in this country? They get taxed,
Yes.
don't they? So we want businesses
Yes.
to make profits, so they pay taxes that then go
but
into
the
the public
cost- yeah, but
services
we're also talking about
that we all pay for.
that people pay their national
I
insurance
hate this
contributions.
argument. People talk about profits like it's a bad thing. We want all companies to be making
but not on
profits.
not on children's
so they're
health.
paying taxes.
Not on
That's a
children's
good
health.
thing.
How do
You don't want
how
people making
effectively-
profits on children's health. That's what's going on here. Would you put profit over a child's health?
I would. Part of children's health and making sure kids are healthy is by having good public services, and we have good public services by having lots of tax revenue coming in from income and also from profits.
How
of companies.
effectively
Okay,
do you
sounds
think
like
we
you would
tax
put-
multinational corporations in this country? Do you think we're really good at it?
I think we tax at a level which is competitive, which means that multinational corporations want to base themselves here, so they're paying tax revenue into our exchequer.
OK, let's take another call. David's in Colchester. Should we ban adverts for junk food outright, David? What do you think? David? David, are you there? Otherwise, I'm going to move on. I'm going to take a call from Debbie, who's in Leicestershire. Is it time to ban junk food ads completely, Debbie? What do you think?
Yes, it is. I know, I understand, I completely agree with the gentleman on the panel.
Albert.
But the thing is, there should be discipline, and it actually, eating all these things, everything's up in their faces, there's temptation there, and talk about additives in there, and stuff like that, not good. So
OK, so are you saying that temptation... Sorry, go on.
It's parents' duty, responsibility to say, no, you can't have it. Use that money somewhere else. No.
Are we
you
at the
cannot do
stage,
that
though, where we've had...
Because it's strain on NHS, obesity. What's going to happen through the childhood? When they're childhood, that's going to carry on.
Debbie, have we had more than one generation of this advertising now? Is that part of the problem, do you think? Is it that parents grew up with it as well?
Well, a bit of both, because let me tell you something. I used to work at McDonald's. I never touched anything at all. I just worked. When you're working around these things and you see these things, you do not touch.
OK.
That's not self-control. If you got it in the house, you look at the telly, there's no self-control because there's parents there not telling them you cannot have that. You can only have some... I, for instance, went outside shopping. I saw ice cream. No, I'm not having tons of additives and sugars. What did I do? I made the right choice. I had watermelon.
OK.
It's up to you, people educating and making the right choices, right decisions.
OK, let's take another call. Thank you, Debbie. David's in Colchester. Is it time to ban junk food? Welcome back, David.
Yes, hello. I think you've got to say that we need responsibility on both sides, both corporate responsibility and parental responsibility.
Okay.
The interesting thing, I think, comes with... I don't think we should ban all ads for children, because we need to engage with them and talk to them about these things. The interesting thing comes in, I think, how you harness the corporate social responsibility that should come, as we're saying. And so, therefore, how you ban ads and which you might ban. And I think you don't have a blanket ban. I think you might leave it up to the regulator to decide. I think there are some ads that aren't particularly harmful. I think perhaps of the Haribo one with the fisherman. But then there are some which I'm a bit weirded about. Like, for instance, the Kentucky Fried Chicken one, where they dip the man in a lake of gravy and he comes out as a piece of chicken.
Just because, David, just because that ad's funny, it doesn't make the food any better, does it? I mean, it's engaging and it's funny. In fact, if anything, it's more powerful for a product that is fundamentally sugar.
Yes, but then we can laugh about it, myself and my children, and then we can discuss it, you know?
OK.
So I think some ads are okay like that, you know?
OK. We'll take one. Thanks for your call, David. Ian's